Okay, pumpkin? And just like that, he was gone. The door closed behind him, leaving me feeling empty. Mom came home an hour later. When I told her Dad had left, she didn't seem surprised. She just nodded, like she had been expecting it. Good riddance, she muttered. Mom, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. How can you say that? She turned to me with cold eyes. Your father cheated on me, Lauren, over and over again. I couldn't take it anymore. That night, everything changed forever. I lay in bed and could hear Mom talking on the phone in her room. She was laughing, sounding happier than she had in months. I wondered who she was talking to, but I was too tired to care. Just when I thought things couldn't get any more complicated, after Dad left, Mom hit us with another surprise. One morning, while we were having breakfast, she announced, I have some news. I'm getting married. I almost choked on my cereal. What, Mom? Dad's only been gone for 3 months. She waved her hand like it was no big deal. Sometimes true love happens unexpectedly, Lauren. You'll understand when you're older. 2 weeks later, Paul moved in. He was okay, I guess. He was tall and good-looking, in a way that made people say, oh, he seems nice. But from the start, something about him didn't sit right with me. He made an effort with Olivia, playing games with her and helping with her homework, but with me, it felt like I didn't exist. Meanwhile, things were changing at the company too. After Dad left, Mom took over and she brought Paul in to work with her. They seemed to work well together, always talking about business plans. I tried to focus on my own life, school, friends, and the usual teenage stuff, but it was hard to shake the feeling that I was becoming invisible in my own family. Things got worse when Mom and Paul announced they were opening a new branch of the company in another city. One evening, Mom said, we're moving. It's a great opportunity for the business. Then she added, Paul and I have been talking, and we think it's best if you stay here. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Stay here without you? I asked, shocked. Mom quickly explained the new house won't have much space, and you're almost finished with school. It wouldn't make sense to transfer right before your exams. It felt like a punch to the stomach. So where am I supposed to live? On the street? I asked, trying not to cry. Don't be dramatic, Lauren, Mom scolded. You'll stay with your grandmother. She's already agreed to it. I stormed off to my room and slammed the door. As I lay on my bed, tears of anger and hurt ran down my face. I couldn't stop thinking, when did I become such a burden to my own mother? The next few weeks flew by, filled with packing boxes and goodbyes. Not for me, though. The tears were from Olivia, who didn't want to leave her friends behind. I helped Olivia pack, trying to stay cheerful for her sake. Will you come visit us, Laura? She asked, her big brown eyes filled with tears. I hugged her tightly. Of course I will. You can't get rid of me that easily. The day they left, I stood on the porch with Grandma, watching as the moving van pulled away. Mom gave me a quick hug, and Paul gave an awkward nod. Then they were gone, taking Olivia with them. Living with Grandma wasn't as bad as I had imagined. She was pretty cool in her own way, giving me space when I needed it but always there with a cup of tea and a kind ear when I wanted to talk. Still, it didn't feel like home. My 20th birthday came faster than I expected. That morning, I woke up feeling strange. I should have been excited, but all I felt was empty. Mom called, of course. Happy birthday, sweetie, she said, sounding overly cheerful. I'm sorry we can't be there. Work is just crazy right now. We'll celebrate next month when we visit, okay? I knew we wouldn't. They hadn't visited once since they moved. Sure, Mom. Sounds great. Grandma must have sensed how I was feeling because she really went all out. She let me invite a few friends over, ordered my favorite food, and even bake a cake herself. For a few hours, I almost forgot about everything. The next morning, Grandma called me into her office. She had a serious look on her face that made my stomach drop. Sit down, Lauren, she said, pointing to the chair across from her desk. We need to talk. My mind raced. Oh no, is she kicking me out? Where would I go? But then she smiled, reached into her desk drawer, and pulled out a small folder. Happy birthday, sweetheart. Open it. I did, and my heart nearly stopped when I saw what was inside. Grandma, is this? She nodded, her eyes sparkling. The company is yours now, Lauren. I see potential in you. You've got a good head on your shoulders, and I know you'll do right by the business. But Mom and Paul, they're running it now, I said, still in disbelief. Grandma's face tightened a little. They're running a branch? The main company, the heart of it all, that's yours now. I sat there stunned. Me, barely 20, the owner of a multi-million-dollar company. It felt like a dream, or maybe a nightmare. I don't know what to say. Update, for my 20th birthday, my grandpa gifted me his $250 million company. However, after the celebration, my mom declared that her new husband would be taking control of the business. I said, absolutely not, I'm the owner now, my mom retorted, then pack your bags and leave this house. Just then, Grandpa chuckled and unveiled another surprise. Grandma reached across the desk and squeezed my hand. You don't have to say anything. Just promise me you give it your all. I nodded, still in shock. I will. I promise. She leaned back, satisfied. Good. Now, I have one more piece of advice for you, and I want you to listen carefully. I leaned in, hanging on to every word. Grandma said, call your father, she told me. There's more to the story than you know. Talk to him, even if it's just as a consultant, but hear him out. It took me a whole week to find the courage to call Dad. We decided to meet at a small cafe downtown. When I saw him, my heart tightened. He looked older, tired, but his eyes brightened when he saw me. There was an awkward silence at first, but then everything spilled out: the divorce, Mom's remarriage, the move, and Grandma's gift. Dad listened quietly, his face showing all kinds of emotions. When I finished, he took a deep breath. Laura, there's something you need to know about the divorce. Then, he told me everything: how Mom never respected him, always putting him down and calling him a loser, making him feel worthless. He explained how, after a huge fight, he got drunk and made the biggest mistake of his life. I cheated on her, he admitted, his voice heavy with guilt. I regretted it right away, but your mother used it against me. She threatened to take everything, even you and Olivia. She wanted me to leave, give her all the property, and pay alimony. I sat there, shocked. This didn't sound like the mom I thought I knew. Why didn't you fight it? I asked. Dad looked at me with sadness and love in his eyes. Because of you and Olivia. I didn't want you both to go through a messy public divorce. I thought this would be easier. As we talked, it felt like a huge weight was lifted off my chest. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I had my dad back. Before we left, I took a deep breath and asked Dad, how would you feel about helping me with the company as a consultant? His smile was all the answer I needed. The next few months were a whirlwind. I studied for exams, spent long nights cramming, and before I knew it, I was standing on stage at my high school graduation with a diploma in hand. Grandma was in the audience, smiling proudly. Mom and Paul were nowhere to be seen, but by then, I'd learned not to expect much from them. As summer came, I focused on college applications with Grandma's support and Dad cheering me on from afar. I aimed high. When the acceptance letters started arriving, I could hardly believe it. But the biggest surprise came when I opened the financial aid package for my top choice, full ride. I stared at the letter in disbelief. Grandma cheered and pulled me into a hug. I knew you could do it, kiddo. All those late nights and competitions paid off. I decided to major in business management. It seemed like the smart choice, especially now that I had the company to think about. I now had a company to run, and the idea still felt unreal. But I was determined to make Grandma proud. To celebrate my college acceptance, Grandma decided to throw a small party, just the two of us. We got some fancy takeout and a bottle of sparkling cider. Grandma wasn't about to let me drink champagne, even though I was an adult now. We were halfway through dinner when the doorbell rang. Grandma frowned, clearly not expecting anyone. I'll get it, I said, putting down my fork. When I opened the door, my stomach sank. There stood my mother and Paul, looking annoyed and impatient. Before I could say anything, they pushed past me into the house. Mom didn't waste time on greetings. Mother, we need to talk about the company now. I stood there, stunned as Mom launched into a rant. She didn't even look at me, didn't ask about my graduation or college. It was like I wasn't even there. Why can't we access the main accounts? She demanded. And why are you blocking the transfer of funds to our branch? Grandma's expression hardened. Because it's not your decision anymore, Kelly. The company belongs to Lauren now. She's the one who will decide its future and manage its finances. The room went silent. I could feel the tension hanging in the air. After Grandma's words, I saw a wave of emotions cross Mom's face, first shock, then anger, and finally something calculating. Suddenly, her whole attitude shifted. Lauren, sweetheart, she said, her voice dripping with fake kindness. I've missed you so much. Why don't you come live with us? I blinked, caught off guard by this sudden change. Mom stepped closer, reaching out like she wanted to touch my arm. Instinctively, I stepped back. We've settled so nicely in the new city. We have a beautiful house and there's a room just for you. We could set up a desk and get you a new computer for your studies and work. No, Mom, I said firmly. I'm happy here. I have my friends, my school, and Grandma needs me. Mom's smile wavered for a moment, but she quickly recovered. Well, if that's the issue, we could always move back here. We could live in our old house, just like before. Wouldn't that be nice? I shook my head. It's not about the house, Mom. It's about everything. I could see the anger building in her eyes, barely contained. Before she could say anything, I decided to ask the question that had been burning inside me for months. Mom, why did you really divorce Dad? She froze, taken aback. Well, your father, he cheated on me multiple times. I got tired of it. He left us for his mistress and didn't even pay alimony. That's not true, I said quietly. Dad told me everything. It only happened once, and it was because of how you treated him. He didn't abandon us. You kicked him out, and he's been paying alimony regularly. Mom's face twisted with anger. How dare you? You ungrateful little brat. You have no right to interfere in my personal life. Everything here is mine, and I decide who lives where. Grandma, who had been quietly watching, finally stepped forward. Her voice was calm but firm, stronger than I had ever heard before. That's enough, Kelly, she said. You seem to have forgotten a few things. This house, the company, they belong to me, not you. I gave the company to Lauren because I trust her judgment more than yours. Right now, I think it's time for you to leave. I watched with mixed emotions as Grandma firmly escorted Mom and Paul out of the house. The door clicked shut behind them, and I felt a strange mix of sadness and relief. I had lost something today, the last bit of hope I had about my mother. But I gained something too, a clear sense of my future and the comfort of knowing I wasn't alone. What now? I asked, my voice muffled against Grandma's shoulder. She pulled back and gave me a small smile. Now, we get back to celebrating your college acceptance. And tomorrow, we start planning for your real future, not the one your mother tried to force on you. The next morning, after the confrontation with Mom and Paul, I woke up to the sound of voices downstairs. Curious, I crept down the stairs and peeked into the living room. To my surprise, Dad was sitting on the couch, deep in conversation with Grandma. I sat down next to them, and Grandma explained why she had called Dad over.